Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode video of Between the Lines. Me, Daniel, my buddy Michael. This is really gonna we don't have a lot of topics to talk about as normal, but we have a few that we really want to go over that really that we felt was important to talk about on today's episode 10 of Between the Lines. So yeah, man, let's just get into what
Oh,
happened this weekend.
one second, one
Um,
second, one second, one second. Today is somebody's birthday. Shout out to my boy Daniel. It is his 21st birthday today. So if you're watching this video, go in the comments section and leave a happy birthday to my boy Daniel. 21st birthday today.
yes, sir.
Got some new drip on with a new sweatshirt. He's ready, man. He's had a good day, so just wanted to take a minute to shout you out, man. You're a great guy, an awesome brother and best friend to me. So shout out to you, my man, and happy birthday. Like I said, leave a subscription for his birthday present and leave a like and a comment. Happy birthday to Danny, if you're watching this video. But proceed. Just want to shout you out, my guy.
Hey man, I appreciate it, bro, so much. And I'm glad we're able to film the podcast regardless if it's my birthday or not.
Oh, for
So
sure, for sure, for sure.
I'm hyped. And
Oh, me too.
Uh, let's just get it started with some breaking news today. We learned that Brian Daboll, head coach or former head coach of the Giants, was released of his duties today. He was fired, and I tweeted out on our Twitter page. I felt like it was kind of imminent at some point. Right now they're falling 2-8. They've had multiple games this year of blown double-digit fourth quarter leads where they could have had, 4 or 5 wins instead of two. This season, I feel like Giants management is kind of felt on the brink. This is gonna be, make or break. Ever since that tragic, ever since that, good season that he had his rookie year where he won Coach of the Year. Um, they went 9-7-1 in his rookie year as the Giants head coach, won a playoff game and whatnot. Ever since then, the roller coaster has just been going down. It seems like for the Giants, and Giant fans have been looking for, an answer, regardless at, the quarterback position or just pretty much like almost all the spots, pretty much. Um, and I guess the Giant management team didn't feel like Brian Daboll was gonna bring them anything that they hadn't already seen. So I just want to get your thoughts. I know you have a lot to talk about in this situation, so I'm gonna let you take the floor first and share your thoughts.
Yeah, like you said, not an impressive tenure for Brian Dable. Um, you know, when you come in your first year as the head coach and you win Coach of the Year first year in, it's pretty impressive. Like there's no doubt that it's very impressive. You win a playoff game for the Giants with Daniel Jones as your quarterback. It seemed like after the first year of Brian Daboll, it was going to be a new life, a kind of a new energy in New York. Um, and it just hasn't been that. Like you said, disappointing year after disappointing year for them after that season. Um, you know, not a really good offensive. You don't really have an offensive stability. Daniel Jones not the quarterback anymore. You've shuffled through quarterbacks. You've kind of tried to just fit in pieces here and there to help your team, and it really hasn't worked. I think they've done well draft wise. I think that's the reason that I think his name is Joe Schoen. I think that's how you say it. Their
Yeah,
GM, they said, is going to stay on as their GM. I think he drafts very well. You have Malik Neighbors, Brian Scat. I mean, Bo. Dang, I'm losing his name. What's his name again? Scattaboo.
Cam's got to.
Cam Scattaboo. I'm sorry. I don't know why I was saying his name wrong. Cam Scattaboo, Jackson Dart. They've drafted very well over the past few years. And I think that's a testament to Joe and his front office and kind of the scouting department there as well. I think they have pieces that can win on this team, no doubt about it. I think there's some good pieces all across that team. Obviously, Cam Scattaboo won't play the rest of the year. Um, horrific injury, but they said he should be back in time for OTAs next offseason, next spring. So, you know, outside of Malik Neighbors, the new head coach, whoever it is going to have a healthy team. Minus Malik Neighbors, obviously he'll probably return next season somewhere in the middle of the year. Depends on how his recovery goes in rehab. But like you said, Giants fans have been very disappointed in Brian Daboll. They've been calling for his job since last year. Sometimes some people the year before that, and it hasn't. For the talent you have on the team on both sides of the ball, I think they have good young talent. There's no sense of hope, and there's no hope for this team. They don't see it. They don't see much improvement anywhere. Obviously, it seems like they're getting worse and worse every year. 2-8, yet again, is just not very good, and it's understandable why they let Brian Daboll go. Some people may say they've seen life out of the team, but obviously for me, I have not. I think I've seen life out of a few players, but I haven't seen life out of the team in general. Jackson Dart is a very explosive, good young quarterback. I think he's done well in his rookie season. I'll talk to him in a little bit. Talk about him in a little bit. I think Cam Scatterbo before his injury done very well. Malik Neighbors, a second-year wide receiver before his horrible season-ending injury. He was looking like a top 10 wide receiver. So all around, even Tyrone Tracy as running back two, it seemed like they had a two-headed monster in the backfield that could really work. Theo Johnson looked good as a tight end. I think the line has improved definitely, but obviously the defense has struggled a lot. That's Shane Bowen. We'll talk about them in a little bit too. We'll see what his job is, if his job is safe as the defense coordinator the rest of the year under Mike Kafka, the new interim head coach. He was serving as the offensive coordinator. He's been in that position since 2022. Before that, he was the Chiefs quarterback coach for Patrick Mahomes. He did win Super Bowl 54 for them. He has also had. It's surprising to me, but I've heard his name. When I heard that Brian Daboll was going to get fired, I kind of figured he'd be the interim head coach. He has had 8 interviews to be a head coach elsewhere the last 4 years. I think the Panthers interviewed him before we hired Frank Reich. I could be wrong. I think we might have done it again before Dave Canales. I'd have to do more research on that. But 8 interviews to be a head coach elsewhere is pretty pretty alarming, honestly, because the Giants haven't done well. So maybe it might be the Chiefs quarterback job that's making him look like, okay, maybe we need to look at this guy. Matt Nagy's getting thrown around as a guy who could be a head coach somewhere, and he's not even calling plays in Kansas City. So being a Kansas City coach, especially on the offensive side of the ball, kind of has a little pull to it, I think. The Giants have also blocked interviews for lateral moves. The Bears, even this past offseason, tried to hire him or tried to interview him for a head coaching job. So definitely interesting to see what he does. 7 more games for them. They're 2-8. They have 7 more games to go. So we'll see. We'll see what he does. It's his chance to prove if he can be a head coach in this league. You have eight interviews, be a head coach elsewhere. The players already know you. You know the atmosphere. You know the locker room. So we'll see if he can take over and get him some wins, bringing a little more energy into the Giants team. But Joe Schoen, the general manager, is going to conduct the search. They announced that today. So he will be staying on as the general manager. He'll pick the next head coach. A lot of names have thrown around. There's been some crazy ones, like CBS Sports today threw out Lane Kiffin because of, I guess, Jackson Dart. I've seen Clint Kubiak. He's the Seahawks offensive coordinator. Obviously, I've seen John Gruden. What'd you say?
What?
What'd you say?
Oh no, I was just like saying, ooh, so like Lane Kiffin. I didn't know that one.
Yeah, CBS Sports put that out today. Lane Kiffin was one of them. Kubiak out in Seattle, their offensive coordinator, was one of them. They've thrown out John Gruden on every job. They even threw out Bill Belichick. I saw Bill Belichick on that list. So, I think he always wants to sneak back in the NFL. I think that's where he wants to come back to. But yeah, there's a lot of names. It seems like a job opens up about every week now. And I think this won't be the last job open for the end of the year. I'm not sure which job is next. I think there will be multiple more, two, maybe three more jobs open in the offseason. I'll talk about that later too. Some teams that I think that could be a coach fired at the end of the year, maybe see him finish out the year and see what they can do. But obviously, we talk about Jackson Dart. He did suffer concussion in the loss versus the Bears on Sunday. But before he left the game, very impressive stat line: 19 for 29, 242 yards, 8.3 average per pass, and 2 rushing touchdowns for him. His last 4 games, he's thrown for 242 yards, 191 yards, 193 yards, and 283 yards. And he's had 10 total touchdowns rushing and passing in that 4 game stretch. So, and only 1 interception thrown. So, 10 touchdowns to 1 interception in 4 games. That's very impressive for a rookie quarterback who kind of got thrown into the mix halfway through the year and doesn't have his wide receiver one and doesn't have his running back one. So, shout out to Jackson Dart, man. He's really balled out. I think he's really shown that he was meant to be a number one, a first round overall pick. A lot of people wanted to put him second, third round just because age. He didn't really impress a lot of people at Ole Miss. I thought he impressed me a lot, but some people wanted to throw him in the second and third round. But I thought he was a first round pick too. And Joe Schoen went after him and said, "I want that guy. That's my guy." So shout out to the Giants for taking a shot at him. Shout out Brian Daboll ultimately for putting him in and making the decision to bench Russell Wilson. But we'll keep an eye on Jackson Dart and see if he's out for the next week and see how long his concussion would keep him out. Concussions can be a tricky injury. So we'll see about that. But Russell Wilson obviously is the backup, and Jameis Winston's right behind him. So we'll see. I think Jackson Dart is the guy for the future, and I think it's a very attractive job just because you get to be able to coach Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo, Malik Neighbors, Theo Johnson, Tyrone Tracy, an improving offensive line. And by the way it looks, you might be able to have a top 10 pick. So you have all the options as an offensive-minded coach or a defensive-minded coach to, if you go for a defensive-minded coach, you lock in the defense, and then you just get a good offensive coordinator to man that offense, or you go offensive-minded coach and you try to run the score up every game. But Mike Kafka gets his chance to show if he can be a head coach in the NFL, and we'll see how that goes. Obviously, it's a tough situation coming into being an interim head coach on a 2-8 team and only 7 games left to prove yourself. So we'll keep an eye on the Giants. We'll probably talk about them more in the next few weeks. But I'm just ranting to you right now. I'm sorry about that. But
No,
you
you're
know,
good.
we'll see. We'll see. There's a lot of openings in the NFL. I think it's going to be for coaches. So it's going to be interesting to see the names thrown around college and NFL level to see who might be head coaches for certain teams. And I think the Giants are one of, if not the most attractive job on the list so far.
Yeah, I agree. With most of what you said there. In my opinion, I think the Giants are going to be one of the most attracting um, position or opening spots to become a head coach, just because of you know I think the Giants have a lot of studs on this team, and they're trying to find an identity and build a culture there. You obviously, and I think it starts with Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterbo. I think they've kind of proved that they're bringing a kind of different mentality in terms of what they're like bringing to the offense when they were on the field, and people got behind them, and people started looking more into what New York is doing, um, and so I feel like that is going to be key in terms of who the next coach is going to potentially be. Obviously, you mentioned Jackson Dart's concussion. This is already his fourth concussion that he has had this year alone, and he's only had limited starts ever since taking over for Russell Wilson. Four, fourth time that he's either gotten into the concussion protocol or he's been checked out for concussions or whatnot. That's his fourth time. So uh, when you're Mike Kafka now, you're kind of looking at you know when Jackson Dart returns, what are we going to do in terms of keeping him healthy? Are we going to change up the offense a little bit in terms of less quarterback design run plays? Um, and I don't think it was even the run play that he got his concussion from. I think he was dropping back to pass and he, hit him and then he hit his guy off the throw and then he just kind of like got banged down on the ground, after a hit by the defender against the Bears. So I mean, I don't even think it was that, but um, you got to really look at how you can protect this quarterbacks. I mean, concussions are pretty scary, and regardless. But you're now this is your fourth time with Jackson Dart, and John Gruden mentioned it to him when they were doing uh, Gruden's draft class. That was called
Yeah, Gruden's QB room or something like that. He does brings the
QB.
quarterbacks
Yeah,
in.
yeah. He mentioned it with Jackson Dart. He was like, "You're taking too many hits. You're gonna get yourself killed out there, and whatnot." And I don't
I
think
was
Jackson Dart
reckless
listened to
and
him.
dangerous,
Yeah, yeah, reckless and
and
dangerous.
I want you
Uh,
to stop it.
yeah, man. So that's like something that I'm looking at. I think they're gonna roll with Russell Wilson this week, just to protect, or let Jackson Dart, recover. 'Cause, I mean, they're 2-8. You don't want to force an injury on your, what you feel like you have a good, you know, player there at quarterback. You don't want to injure him more or do any more damage. So I think they're gonna roll with Russell Wilson this week. But that's kind of what I have on Jackson Dart in terms of what happens now after Brian Daboll. I will give Brian Daboll credit for um, you know benching Russell Wilson and adding Jackson Dart into the lineup.
Oh, for sure,
I think that was his best move that he could have made. Um, Obviously, there were low expectations coming into the year, but when you added Jackson Dart, you automatically saw what happened to the offense. You started winning a couple games. You were being competitive, more competitive than you saw with Russell Wilson, and you had two quality wins against the Eagles and against the Chargers. So, and then you also had a huge lead against the Broncos on the road. And then just this week, you had a 10-point lead in Chicago in the fourth quarter. So, and that could have, so those could have easily turned into 2 wins, around 4 wins total. Could have, all that. So, I mean, and then they had a Saints game, which they really killed themselves in that one as well. But if they just limited the turnovers, it could have been more competitive. So they're really one of the better 2-8 teams. Um, or one of the better, non-competing teams, I guess you want to say, with a bad record. I think they play better than what the record shows.
for sure,
So I don't think, you know, I think Giant fans have some light at the end of the tunnel. I think this is a good day for them. Start fresh next season with a new head coach. Just find the right guy this year. I know it's not going to always work out. You can just ask, the Panthers and whatnot. It takes time to find the right head coach. Um, but let's go. I want to talk about Mike Kafka as well. You also mentioned he coached under Andy Reid with the Chiefs in 2017. He was the offensive quality control coach. Um, and so he was kind of working with Patrick Mahomes there and whatnot. And then he moved over to the Giants in 2022, where during their winning season, when they went 9-7-1 and went to the playoffs, their offense, as with him as the OC, was 22 points per game. They were 15th in the league with that. So obviously, I think Mike Cap, and he's still been calling the plays here and whatnot. But now that I think that he is now the interim head coach, I think he's going to make some tweaks. He's going to make some adjustments into how he wants to call the plays and into how he wants to um, control this team and whatnot. So, and he's only 38 years old, a young head coach. Um, so I think there's some lineage there when it comes to connecting with some of the players maybe or and whatnot. So, and I think it's always funny when teams are like in this reset mode, or when they fire someone, or when they trade, important players. They come back the following week and they play a lot better. They play with more energy. They play more freely.
For sure.
hard reset. Is what I like to say. I mentioned it's literally what happened just recently, with the Jets. Uh, and I had them winning um, this season or this past week against the Browns because they traded Sauce Gardner. They were one of the big talks of the week. They traded Sauce to the Colts. Um, they were the big talks of the week, getting all these first round picks and whatnot. Traded Quinn and Williams, and then they come back. They come here. They play against the Browns. I feel like everyone really wasn't giving the Jets a chance, even though the Browns are pretty bad as well. Um, they come out with a lot of energy, and they come out and win a game. So I think, you know, this is a good thing for the Giants. They come out this week against Green Bay. I don't know what the score is right now with the Green Bay Packers and the Eagles game right now. Um, but regardless, I think you know it will be that game could be a lot closer than a lot of people are expecting. So don't be surprised if the Giants are able to surprise people this week, this Sunday against Green Bay. Um, that's really all I have to say in terms of this whole situation right now with the Giants and Daboll and all that. But
Yeah.
just in
Um,
conclusion, there's light at the end of the tunnel for them, in my opinion, and I think things are going to get better from here for them.
yeah. I agree with you 100%. I'm gonna add a few things. I think a big factor has got to be the Giants' defense. They struggled very much, very, very much. We've talked about all these players, these young players that we think are a good young core for the Giants, and most of them are on offense. I don't know if we named any defensive guys, but the offense seems to be doing pretty well. Mike Kafka seems to be doing pretty good. They are 24th in points per game. That's 21.7 points per game. But I mean, they're top 20 in passing and rushing. 17th in passing, 11th in rushing. 26 total touchdowns. Um, but the defense is a whole nother story. 27th in opponents' points per game. They've allowed 27.3 points per game. They're 23rd pass defense, and they're second to last in rush defense, 31st. And they are 28th in touchdowns allowed with 31. So, it's a tale of two stories. You have two top 20 um, top 20, top 20 passing offense, top 20 rushing offense, 26 total touchdowns, but your defense is bottom half in every category. They're 28th or worse. I mean, 27th and worse in offensive points per game, rush defense, and touchdowns allowed, and they're 23rd in pass defense. So, um, that may be something that the Giants look at. Okay, do we need a defensive minded coach to take over this team? Shore up that defense. Some people look at it like that, but some people may say, okay, look, this offense is good and it's set. It's kind of we got a core that's kind of meshed together. How about we bring an offensive guy in here and let him just take this to new heights and get him an impressive defensive coordinator, maybe a young defensive guy to come with him and take over that defense and bring a little new energy to that side of the ball. But um, definitely gonna be interesting to see who they like over the next few weeks. Obviously, Mike Kafka, an in-house guy, is going to get an interview at the end of the season, probably. Just depending on what he does, definitely considering, like I said, since he's had 8 interviews elsewhere in the last 4 years. Um, but we'll see if he makes any tweaks. Like you said, sometimes interim head coaches, they're kind of free to make those tweaks. Shane Bowen is the defense coordinator, been there for the last 2 years, but he hasn't done impressive at all either year. So we'll see if he keeps Shane Bowman as defense coordinator, or if he gives the play calling to somebody else, or um, they make any changes to position coaches on either side of the ball. But for now, it is Mike Kafka's team. He has 7 more games, and we'll definitely be keeping an eye on them and see what they do. But definitely got to improve that defense. The offense seems to be in a decent spot right now. They definitely need to be it better, but that defense needs much, much, much improvement. That's for sure.
Yeah, their defense really isn't playing up to standard as a lot of people would see when you look at their defense on paper. Um, I don't know if you saw the clip, but Brian Burns got put on his ass against Darnell Wright um, on a one pass protection play. Um,
Yeah.
He tried to go for a spin move, it didn't work. We know he likes to use that spin move, it's one of his signatures.
Yeah. I
But
mean,
that's just kind of like how it summed. That's kind of how the Giants' defense summed up in that game against Chicago. It was a total collapse as
yeah.
well. Again,
Um,
just like the Broncos.
for sure. You know
Yeah.
what stands out to me, like you said, speaking of Brian Burns, they're second to last in rush defense, and all I've heard them in the offseason, and I even said it myself on the podcast, is they seem to have a very good defensive line. Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Abdul Carter, Brian Burns. By the looks of it from the outside looking in, it looks like a very impressive defensive line. It looks like a very impressive team on the defensive side of the defensive front, but they definitely haven't played up to par. Second to last in rush defense is not up to par at all, and they are 23rd in pass defense. So obviously, they're not getting the pressures they'd like. Obviously, Brian Burns does have quite a few sacks this year, but it doesn't seem to be doing enough. It's got to be more than one guy. You have Kayvon Thibodeau, you have Abdul Carter, who you drafted very, very early this past year. And then you have Dexter Lawrence, who's most people would hype up as top 10, top 15 interior D lineman, but I haven't seen it. So they've definitely got to improve on the defensive side of the ball. Like you said, Brian Burns just getting mauled this past weekend. It seems like he hasn't done much after the first few weeks. Obviously, I think he has a lot of sacks, but it's definitely not doing enough. So either he needs help or he's just a one man show, and that's not what you can have when you have all that talent around you, and these fans hype up that talent all the time. That talent has to go out there and prove it week in and week out, and they're just not doing that so far. So, um, see if Mike Kafka can bring a new fire to the both sides of the ball as the interim head coach, and see if he can make some magic happen these last 7 games.
I mean, Brian Burns. I'm 99% sure he's like leading the league in sacks, with, like 12. But obviously, like you said, can't just be a one man show. Need help all around from the defensive side to help contribute with that. But yeah, man. And that's what I think the interim head coach magic can do this week. Hopefully, new vibes, new energy in the locker room can help them this week. Um, that's, I mean, we had the same experience, with Steve Wilkes when we fired, was it
Matt
uh,
Rule.
Matt Rule? Yeah, Matt Rule. Uh, my mind went blank for a second.
All right, bro.
When we had Steve Wilkes, but yeah, so the interim head coach magic is real, and I think it could play out this week. So who knows? But yeah, I really like I really like what the Giants are can potentially do. So hopefully good things will happen in terms of what happens this week against the Packers and so forth. So
For sure.
uh, good stuff there. Now moving on to what our main podcast is about: the New Orleans Saints going up against the Carolina Panthers at Bank of America Stadium. The 1-8 Saints coming in against the 5-4 Panthers. Um, I don't know. Do you want to go first or do me?
I think I'm gonna let you go first. You kind of just pissed me off by saying the name, so so you go ahead. You lead this one, and I'll follow suit.
All right. Well, I just want to say that there's a lot of moving pieces here when it comes to why the Panthers struggled um, against the Saints, and why a lot of people are mad. Or I think this is the most upset that I'm been at a Panthers loss this year. Like
Oh, for sure,
excuse all the other blowouts that we've
for
had,
sure.
like with the Patriots and
The Bills.
the Bills. Yeah, excuse all that. I think it's the most like pissed off that I've been at for a number of reasons. Um, for like coming into this game, you obviously know it's a trap game. You know not to underestimate the Saints. No divisional game is easy. The Saints always give us struggles, regardless. It's never an easy one. So, in coming into the game, they were top five in rushing against the run. So I don't know if Dave knew that or if he was, or if his game plan was just to run Rico Dallo and hope he would get, over 100 yards by halftime, but that just wasn't it. Um, I think he had like 73 total rushing yards that game. I could be
Yeah.
wrong. 73. Um, and he probably had like less than 40 at halftime. So I don't know what his halftime adjustments were, but obviously he did not come in with a balanced game plan like he talked about in the presser today. He talked about having a balanced offense. Well, where's the balance in everything? You're just running the ball, and then you can't even find a rhythm with the pass game when all the pass attempts that you do with Bryce Young are like below 10 yards. So I don't know how you're going to find balance in that when you're not taking the deep shots, when you're not taking risks or whatnot. You're just putting everyone in bad predicaments. I mean, you have the Saints playing, covering everything on the other underneath. Like they're taking away the high top because they know you're not going to throw that. You're not going to throw it. So um, I just think Dave is like one of the most, like, I don't even know what he is. He's like so weird, bro. Like
Yeah.
I just don't even know a name to what I can say about Dave. He says the right things, but he doesn't do the right things.
Amen.
Um, like it's either you do it or you don't. I mean, it's either put up or shut up at this point. Like
For
I'm
sure.
tired of what you're saying in the press. Like, watch the film, bro. We're watching the same film? Like we need to, like, how are we not seeing this? I thought you're supposed to be an offensive minded coach, and you're not showing anything. Like when I watch other teams across the league, I literally was watching Jackson Dart yesterday tear up the Bears defense, throwing missiles across the field. I watched JJ McCarthy do the same thing against Baltimore. And you're saying Bryce Young, who's in year three, you're not allowing him to take the top off. You're not allowing Bryce Young to throw anything deep across the middle, nothing. Like you're just throwing these corner curl routes, like that's pretty much the only thing that he's been doing this year. Is just that, like, and it's really just hard to watch. In terms of Bryce Young, I already like mentioned you over text, like uh, when on Sunday, like what I thought about Bryce Young, and I think right now I think there's more weaknesses than there are good things about Bryce Young right now. I think he has a poor arm, um, and when he is able to show or throw the ball deep, it's typically not the best all the time. I would say there are more underthrown than good um, pass attempts. His reading of the defense is poor. I'll come back to that here in a minute with an example. Bad decision making, and again, with the size that he is, a couple batted balls. Again, last on Sunday, um, and he was 17 for 25, about 24, 68% completion percentage, and he's only throwing four for 4.9 yards per pass attempt, which is pretty sad. And then Tyler Shue had, I'm pretty sure, 11.5 yards per pass. So, and that's just not what you want to see come from a year three quarterback compared to a rookie quarterback. So if that, and he really should have had two interceptions. One when he threw across the middle of the field and Demario Davis intercepted it. I don't know if he was trying to anticipate the pass or if he just didn't see the Demario Davis or what, but he got bailed out by a roughing the passer call, which he got bailed out a couple of times during that. Like when you look back at the roughing the passer calls, like those are not penalties. I'm sorry. I just call it how it is. Um, and then when he threw the interception to Alontae Taylor, this is the part that really made me mad. Alontae Taylor literally does this a lot with the Saints. He comes in, he fakes the like he's gonna blitz, and then he comes in, he comes back out and goes back to his zone. That's something that if Bryce Young was watching the film, if Dave was watching the film, they would see that. They would know that he does that. He came in. He went back out, and Bryce Young immediately had his sights set on Ted McMillan on that out route, and he threw a meatball straight to Alante Taylor. Um, and at that point, I mean, you might as well just left the stadium because nothing was happening after that. Um, and then let me just show you what our final drive looked like. Our final drive consisted. We're down 10. Our final, and you would think we would have some consistency. First play, a 3-yard run. Second play, 0 for 1 passing. You get a 15-yard penalty, roughing the passer, which wasn't a roughing the passer. You get a 5-yard completed pass. You get a 4-yard run. Then you get -1 yard run. And then you get a turnover on downs, short of the sticks, on 4th and 2. And Dave is like, he's playing conservative mode. I don't know what he's like doing. You're at home. Why are you playing like you're on like the road, and it's like snowing? Like he's like doing these short passes, like, and he ran the ball more times than he passed on the final play of the game, when on the final possession for them of the game when you're down 10. Like let's just be real for a second. Um, and then in total, like all the miscues that the Panthers had, 4 punts, a blocked field goal, which they recovered, but didn't do anything with it. You had a fumble on the jet sweep with Jimmy Horn, and
I
Jimmy
think
Horn
that
such
was
a.
I think that was the play after the blocked field goal, was it not? Well, I mean, or a few plays after was Jimmy Horn's.
I think it was the next possession after, because they were coming to this side of the field, and then when he threw the interception, they were going the other way. Um, I could be wrong. I don't know if they flipped sides or what. I don't know. But either way, they had the fumble with that. And Jimmy Horn is like literally a decoy at this point. Like you said, you mentioned, he's literally just a decoy. Dave Canales doesn't even try to give a shit about having him on the get involved more in the offense. And then an interception should have been two, and then TOD turnover on downs. So that's pretty much all the miscues there
Yeah.
for Carolina. But I could be missing a lot more, but yeah, man, I'm just gonna stop ranting. So I'm gonna let get to what you have to say, and yeah, man.
Yeah, I think as I dove into it more and I just I kind of looked into it more, different statistics, different interesting facts. It kind of made me more upset as I went along. First off, let's talk about Dave Canales. We'll talk about Dave Canales. Like you said, very vanilla. It just seems like he's a conservative play caller. Like I said over text to you, I said let's pull up videos and highlights from his 1 year as offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay. And I promise you, it's day and night difference in the play calling with Tampa Bay and with us. Now, obviously, personnel is different. You have different players, whatnot. Okay, cool. I get it. You had Chris Godwin, Mike Evans in Tampa Bay, but the way it is talked about from our front office and from our coaching staff, we have just as good as a wide receiver core as them. You have a rookie Tedero McMillan who you drafted in top 10. You drafted up and you trade up in the first round to get Xavier Legette. You have Jalen Coker, who you kept on your team, signing him as an undrafted free agent, who you said was a very impressive wide receiver, who we thought we saw last year was a very impressive wide receiver, very impressive for undrafted free agent. You have Jimmy Horn Jr., who you drafted in the NFL draft this past offseason, who has made plays when given the ball. I mean, literally a few weeks ago, first play out of halftime, we motion him over. He runs a wheel route, 25, 30-yard completion, first play of the second half. That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. That's the type of stuff that we have to do to move the ball down the field. If you want to do the 2, 3, 4-yard passes and try to make plays, it's not going to work. Most teams fly to the ball very easily, especially against us, because they like to take away the underneath stuff. That's all we throw. Like I said, we throw curl routes, we throw out routes, we throw sit down routes, we throw screen passes. It's nothing new what we do. We see it every week, week in and week out. You have 3 tight ends on your team, and I don't think any of them get involved ever. That is JT Sanders, Tommy Tremble, and Mitchell Evans. Mitchell Evans, another rookie as well, who we drafted. You have 53 spots on the NFL roster. 53. You can only dress, I think it's 48 players a game. 3 of those players as tight ends. They don't get involved at all. One of them is a decoy at wide receiver, and Jimmy Horn Jr., who is nothing but a motion guy. I think he had 13 snaps yesterday. I could be wrong. I usually look at Mike K. He's a guy on Twitter I'll follow. He puts out the snap counts every Monday. I think he had 12 or 13, which is like maybe 20% of the offensive snaps. And I promise you, if we go back and look, 10 of those are motions without him doing anything. And the one that wasn't is the jet sweep that Bryce Young definitely just did not put it right in his gut. It was miscommunication from both of them. Bryce Young said he took accountability for it in the post game. But that's the thing, is when you're driving into the opponent's territory, when you're doing anything anytime during a game, if you turn the ball over more than once, one time is bad enough, but if you turn it over more than once, you're not going to win ball games. That's just plain and simple. You can't rely on your defense to do it game in and game out. And the stats show it. The stats show it right here. The defense, we're 11th in total defense. That is night and day from last year. We said that had to. We watched the last 8 weeks of the NFL season last year. The Panthers offense looked great. The defense looked like crap. And we said in the offseason, if Edro keeps his job, he has to improve that defense. He's done that drastically. I think we can both agree on that. He's definitely improved that defense drastically. They're 11th in total defense. We're 14th in passing defense. I think we were dead last year. And we were 17th in rushing defense. I think we were also like dead last in that last year.
Yeah.
We're 18th in offensive touchdowns allowed and only 25 offensive touchdowns allowed. We're top 20 in every statistic category. That is night and day from last year. We were almost dead last or close to dead last in everything last year on defense. So the defense did what it had to do. We kept Edro Rivero. He showed us that he can be a good defensive coordinator, which we asked him to do as fans. They asked him to do as a front office. The only downside is we're 25th in sacks. Only 16 sacks on the year as a team. Obviously, six teams are worse than us. So, I guess that's a bright spot, but not a bright spot at the same time. You got to get pressure on the quarterback. You got to rattle his cage. It creates turnovers in the back end. It makes the bad throws. It makes your secondary be able to swarm. You don't want to give a team. You don't want to give a quarterback a lot of time in the backfield. It makes for the wide receivers to run around and make plays, and the defense likes to hold after a certain period of time. So definitely got to improve in the pressure game from the D line. That comes down from Derek Brown, Ashawn Brown, the rookies Nick Swarton and Princely. Those guys definitely got to improve in that area. DJ Wanham. But I can't really hate on the defense much. It's not their fault. They have showed up the last out of the last 5 weeks. It's been on the defense to do what they had to do. The Panthers seem to want to give it away every week. Like I said in a tweet on our Twitter, Bryce Young, when in games we win, he does just enough, and in games we lose, he doesn't do enough. So, that's a game manager statement right there. That's defines a game managing quarterback as a guy who's just okay, a guy who can just get it done when need be. And as a quarterback in the NFL, you want a guy who changes games. You look at all the quarterbacks in the NFL today we've talked about on this podcast. Bo Nix, Drake May, all the young guys. Bo Nix, Drake May, Daniel Jones, Patrick Mahomes, all those, all the Josh Allen. Those guys are they're game changers. They change a game. They're a guy you want the ball in their hands. They put up 200 plus passing yards a game. They make it look easy. They make it look simple. They're guys who change the game and can take over the game. And you're like, I trust that guy. People on Twitter want to talk about the game-winning drives. Why do I care about 8 game-winning drives in 3 years? We do understand that there are 17 games in NFL season. That means he's played 30. We're what are we? 5-5. So he's played 44 games in his NFL career. 44. He's played less than that. He's played 42 still. So 8 wins. 8 wins. Okay, he got game-winning drives on all 8 wins, but has a losing record as a quarterback in the NFL. I'm not buying this, man. There comes a time when and I don't want to put it all on Bryce Young. I do not. I think Bryce Young can win ball games in the NFL. We've seen it last year. We've seen he can make He can change games. We've seen he can be a game changer. He did it in the Atlanta game. The defense wanted to give it away so many times last game of the year last year in Atlanta, and Bryce Young yet again every time stepped up and showed up. That's what we saw last year. And even the reporters today asked Dave Canales what changed from last year, and he wants to beat around the bush with his answers. He wants to make it seem like all is fine and dandy in Carolina. I get it. You're 5-5. That's cool. I get it. You're finally in a good spot as the Carolina Panthers. Your job seems kind of secure right now, but I'm tired of just the complacency. David Tepper, when he came in as owner, said, "We're not going to be a complacent team." We've been a complacent team since he became the owner. We're still a complacent team. We're 500. We can't get over the hump to get 2 games over 500. We haven't done that since when? When was the last time we did that?
Did that in
2021?
2020, yeah, 2021 we had Sam Darnold,
So
so yeah.
it's 4 years we've been two wins over 500. I don't know how many teams can say it's been that long since they've been 2 games over 500. Some teams haven't been 2 games under 500 in a long time. So, you know, we have to be able to win games consistently, and we have to win games against 1-8 teams at home. That is something simple that has to be done. There's no reason you're only putting up 7 points against the 1-8 Saints. There's no reason you're letting Tyler Shoaff look like a great quarterback, but it's not on the defense. They're on the field so many times. Eventually, he's going to put up stats. He's going to make plays. So Dave Canales has to be able to move the ball down the field. Like I said in our text yesterday, I added it up. Bryce Young, in his 4 statistically best games, he's 3-1 in those games. The one loss being the Arizona Cardinals, which we had a chance to win. They've thrown 10 passes over 20 yards. He's completed 6 of them, and he's had 4 of his best statistical games this year. He's won 3 of those games. He's put up over 24 points in those games. So it shows when you score points and you do good things as a quarterback, you can win football games because your defense has gotten better. But Dave Canales doesn't seem to understand that. He always throws out okay, we've repped it in practice. I don't care about re-repping in practice. I don't care about what you do from Monday to Friday or Monday to Saturday. I want you to be able to do what you do on Monday to Saturday, put it on the field on Sundays in the 3 hours we play the football game. You repping it in practice all week and not doing it in an NFL game doesn't do nothing for us. You don't win Super Bowls out of practice. You don't win football games out of practice. You don't win the NFC South out of practice. You win the NFC South, you win the NFC, you win the Super Bowl, you win titles on Sunday nights, on Sundays. You do it on Thursday when you play on Thursday. You do it on Sunday when you play on Sunday. You do it on Monday when you play on Monday. That's simple fact. We've known that for years. It's never changed since the NFL was created. You don't win games in practice. Do you get better in practice? No doubt. That's when you rep the plays. You rep the plays you're going to use on Sundays, and he doesn't do that. If he really says he reps it all the time, I don't see it. You can't say you trust him to do it in practice, but you don't trust him to do it in a game. And that's just sad. The defense has allowed under 20 points the last 3 out of the 4 weeks. They forced 6 turnovers in the last 5 weeks. They seem to be improving game by game. Obviously the Bills game, we can call it what it was. Josh Allen, 2 losses coming off a bye. He was hungry. He was out for blood, and we were just the team in the way. That's a game changing quarterback being a game changing quarterback and doing what he needs to do. But the defense seems to be getting better. I'm very impressed with Ejiro Evero. Shout out Ejiro Evero. He's had his defense ready. He keeps, every time the offense gives it up and has to go, we have to go right back on the field. The defense then again bails us out. And all you hear from the fans in the stand is, well, bail us out again, defense. Bail us out again, defense. We're not used to hearing that, but it's true. The defense has to bail us out again and again. And when you have an offensive-minded coach who done very good things in Tampa Bay in his 1 year, you want to see those same things happen in Carolina. But you haven't seen them happen. We did see them happen the last 8 weeks of the NFL season last year, but why did that not translate into this year? Nothing's changed. If anything, you've gotten more weapons. You got Tedero McMillan on the outside. You added Rico Dowdle in free agency. Your offensive line is top 5, top 10 statistically. So nothing has changed. It's the same personnel. It's the same coaching staff. You didn't lose or gain anybody on the offensive side of the coaching staff. So what's the difference? There's no difference. Your defense has gotten better. If you do the same things you did the last 8 weeks last year, and your defense improved from almost dead last to middle to top of the league in statistics, you should seem to be a very good team. But we're losing games we shouldn't lose. You shouldn't lose to the 1-8 Saints at home. That's just simple facts. Nobody should. You're 5-4, looking to go 6-4, and come within one game of the first place in the NFC South and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and you lose. That's on you, Dave Canales. You're the head coach. You're the man they hired to do the job. It falls on your shoulders. You have to be able to figure out where we can improve on our team to win football games. And I do think very heavily that it is moving the ball down the field in the passing game. Obviously, the run game's there. But if people stop our run game and make us one-dimensional, can Bryce Young make those throws and can Dave Canales call those plays for us to win the game in the pass game? And the
No.
simple answer is no, he cannot. We've seen it week after week. We've said it on this podcast week after week. Dave Canales has to prove us differently. And I'm not going to let it be one game. If we come into Atlanta on Sunday and we move the ball down the field, pass more downfield, I'm not going to come on this podcast next Monday and say, well, he's changed my mind. I'm all on board. I want to see it happen consistently. We talk about on this podcast consistency. Dave Canales talks about it on the podium every week. Consistency in the run and pass game, defense, offense, and special teams. Consistency. Good football teams consistently do the right things in all three phases. And we have not done that. The defense seems to be doing well. Sam Martin, Ryan Fitzgerald, J.J. Jansen, the special teams unit is pretty good. But the offense has not done their job. And it falls on Dave Canales. He's the play caller. We've seen it across the league. Dan Campbell took over the play calling from John Morton, his offensive coordinator, because he didn't think his offense was up to par. Dan Quinn is assuming the role as defensive coordinator with the Washington Commanders because he doesn't think his defensive coordinator is doing his job up to par. You are the offensive coordinator. You are the head coach. You obviously know it's not up to par. So you have to self-reflect. You don't have an offensive coordinator calling your plays. Brad Idzik is your best friend, but he is not calling your plays. He helps you scheme. He helps you figure out what we should do on every play, but he's not calling your plays. So it's on you. It falls on your shoulders as the head coach. You have to figure out how we can move the ball downfield. You look at Bryce Young in Alabama, he moved the ball downfield. He can throw the ball downfield. I know people think he has a weak arm, and maybe he does. Maybe it seems a little different in the NFL, and that's fine. But I know that kid, if we go back and watch, he can move the ball downfield. The pass to Xavier Legette in the back of the end zone yesterday was right there for Xavier Legette to go get. He just didn't go get it. Bryce Young can make the throws down the field, but we have to trust in him, and it doesn't seem like Dave Canales trusts in him. No doubt, Bryce Young has to get better. Bryce Young has many issues. He's 33rd in pass yards per game, 168.2. He's 25th in pass yards total, only 1,500. 11 touchdowns, 7 picks. He has to read a defense better. He has to scan the field better. He can't force it into double, triple coverage like he does most of the time. That stuff cannot happen. You have to be able to improve on that stuff. We have to be able to make the simple passes, the passes that are open. He's 49th in passer rate, 79.8. But there's almost 40 quarterbacks who have a longer pass on the season than Bryce Young, and he's only missed one game. Just to name a few, Cooper Rush has a longer pass than Bryce Young by 16 yards. Bryce Young's longest pass on a year is a pass to Tedero McMillan for 40 yards. Cooper Rush has a pass for 56 yards. Cam Ward, a struggling rookie, 47 yards this pass farthest. David Mills, who's only been playing 2 or 3 weeks for the Texans, 54 yards is his longest pass. And even Tyler Shoaf, a kid who's only started 2 games this year, his longest pass on the season is 62 yards. Kellen Moore is in his first year as a head coach. Tyler Shoaf has only played 2 games as a rookie quarterback. They're a struggling team in New Orleans, and their quarterback has a longer pass than Bryce Young on the year by 22 yards. And Bryce Young is your third-year quarterback. So it's either one, you don't trust him, or he can't make the plays. One or the other's got to be figured out. But you got to win football games against teams like New Orleans Saints. Like I said, I'm fired up about this, man. I'm fired up because we pay money to go watch this team every week. We pay money to get gear. We pay money to do the little things. So obviously we have a dog in the fight. We pay money to watch y'all play. We pay money, and we have a right to have an opinion. So it's got to be figured out on the offensive side of the ball, and it's Dave Canales' job to figure it out. The play calling has got to stop being vanilla. We have to make throws down the field. We have to make the energetic throws. We have to have explosive plays. Explosive plays is the name of the NFL. That's what makes Ben Johnson so good. He has explosive plays about every other play. That's why he was the most sought-after head coach the last 3 years, and the Chicago Bears seem to be doing very well after struggling the past few years, is because He does the explosive plays. It's simple. Andy Reid does the explosive plays. Dan Campbell does the explosive plays. That's why these teams succeed in the NFL. They make the explosive plays. They have a good run offense. They have a good pass offense. They have a good defense to back them up. They have a good special teams. 2 out of 3 of your faces are doing very well right now. The defense and special teams. The offense has to pick it up, and that's on Dave Canales. We're going to hold Dave Canales to the same standard week in and week out. We're probably going to talk about Dave Canales more and more and more and more and more every week because it seems like we always figure out that it falls on his shoulders and stuff that he didn't do right. So you are the play caller. You were hired to be the play caller. You hired to be a head coach. It falls on you. Let's see what you got. You got to man up and say, hey, what I'm saying on this podium has to be shown on the field. If you say it on the podium, show it on the field. We're tired of hearing the same old, same old. We've done it. We've done it for years. Ron Rivera did it. Ron Rivera said the right things and he did the right things on the field. That's why he went to the Super Bowl. That's why he won multiple NFC South titles. But you look at Matt Rule. He said the right things on the podium, or he tried to, and we looked like garbage on the field, and he got fired and he's coaching college football ranks. Same thing with Frank Reich. He tried to say the right things on the podium, didn't do the right things on the field, and he's coaching college football. So it's simple as this. If you say the things you want to do on the podium, bring them out on Sunday. Show the NFL world that you are putting your big boy britches on. You're saying, you know what? I've heard the noise about me. I'm gonna prove these fools wrong, and go prove them wrong. We're 5-5 with 7 more games to go. We have a very tough schedule, but a very winnable schedule. We got to play the Saints again. We got to play the Bucks twice. I think we can win some games, but we got to go out here and we got to prove it. We got to prove it week in and week out, and it falls on the offensive play caller's hands, and that's Dave Canales. I'm done ranting, but again, Dave Canales has to improve, but Bryce Young has to improve as well.
Yeah, man, I couldn't have said it better myself. Um, it's just, you know, it was tough to watch in the stands yesterday. The offense, I don't know about your section, but my
Oh, for sure,
section,
for sure.
we were just gassed. We were tired of it.
Oh, we were pissed. We were
Um,
pissed.
yeah, and coming in, our defense held New Orleans to 10 points through the 10-minute and 20-second mark in the fourth quarter. That's when they scored on that Juwan Johnson touchdown to make it 17. But holding a NFL team to 10 points through almost 4 quarters,
You
and
should
you
win
only
football
let in
games.
7 points. Yeah, I mean that's just, if that's not a sign that your offense is playing very bad and whatnot, I don't know what it is. But yeah, man, that was just such a game that we should have won. It's a shame that we didn't. I think and I believe two things can be true about what you said with Bryce Young. I think he has the potential to be, if he was on another team, let's say that he was on another team and he went, he most likely would probably ball out there because
For sure.
more likely than not, that offensive play caller, that head coach or whatever, is gonna allow him to open up his game more. They're gonna have less plays that are getting scheming these guys open, just letting them play more freely and whatnot. Um, and then, but also Bryce Young has these struggles. He has these weaknesses with him that limits him to a lot of things. So two things can be true. Um, and I want Bryce Young to succeed. I really do.
For
But
sure.
when you're in your third year, you're making these mistakes that you should have already cleaned up by now. If you really want to feel like you have your franchise quarterback, um, you just can't have those. And I really have a hard time believing um, in us if he continues to play mediocre football on his last year next year. I don't really care what he does. I know the rest of this year, regardless, what happens or whatever. Like I just don't want the situation to end up like a Tua or a Kyler Murray situation. And I know a lot of fans are gonna be like, "Oh no, we got our guy. He's gonna be our franchise guy." Like, are we absolutely 100% sure before we make a long term investment and we pay him that, you know, max contract or whatever the case might be, whatever type of money we potentially may give him. I just want to know that our franchise isn't killing themselves right there, because from what I saw, I don't think he's a franchise quarterback for us right now. I think he's just game managing all these games right now. And that's also so like what you said with Dave Canales. That's two things can be true. Dave Canales is holding him back in a lot of ways. So it's just there's just a lot of stuff to go over with the offense, man. Um, and then another part is he's not getting guys involved. XL, you mentioned, we traded into the first round to get him. Um, you can pull up my receipt. You can pull up the receipt in our text message. I wasn't very high on him when we first drafted him. I wasn't. I wanted a Donnie Mitchell, AD Mitchell, um, and I just don't think he has presented or he's been presented to us as a wide receiver that we can rely on or whatnot. He just looks goofy out there, in my opinion. Like he's like the way he runs his routes, they're not like fooling nobody. They're not, frightening anyone. Coming off his breaks, they're not good. The DBs are just sitting on him. He only had one target yesterday. He had zero catches, 0 yards, one target. He pulled up triple zeros and one target. So I mean, obviously he's not getting separation if whatever the case might be, or Bryce just he's just not looking his way or whatever. And we can't keep relying on Ted McMillan, rookie, who only had 5 catches for 60 yards yesterday. But obviously we have a tough. And then no, I want to go to the defense as well. I mentioned they held them to 10 points at the 10-minute mark in the fourth, but you said we had 16 sacks, which was 25th in the league. Nick Scorton had one sack and one tackle for loss. When he did have that sack, we had another opportunity for the offense to
We
come
did.
in and go and take advantage from that, and we did not. We
Pathetic.
we stumbled there, man. Like that's another missed opportunity right there. Like when our defense gives us hope and energy, the whole arena, the whole stadium was loud right there, man. And our offense just comes out flat. Like I don't know, it's just very hard. And then I told you yesterday, going up against Atlanta in it on the road, um, and that they're gonna be out for blood. They're not gonna be wanting to get blown out 30-0 again. They're not gonna be pulling out, coming out with putting up a donut on offense. Um, so I hope Dave Canales is ready for this week. I hope he gets them more ready and fired up, because it's not gonna be an easy game. So I hope Panther fans aren't expecting a blowout again, uh, or win, because at this point, who knows? 5-5, we can't seem to get over, that 2 game above 500 mark. And this is a very competitive NFC right now. I mean, good gosh, have you looked at the standings?
Yeah.
Like the Bears are 6-3. You still got the Rams who you have to play, who are 6-4. Seahawks who you still have to play, who only have two losses. So
49ers.
49ers, Rams. You still got the Saints again at on the road.
Tampa Bay
That's always
twice.
that's always tough to play. You still got Tampa Bay. Like you know, us making the playoffs isn't a guaranteed. It's not. We could end up in that very terrible spot in the draft where we end up picking like 12 or 13 or something like that, and that's not where you want to be. Um, so it's either you have to put up or shut up right now. And I mentioned that these were must-win games before we played Green Bay. This 3 game stretch: Green Bay, New Orleans, and Atlanta. So, so we're 1-1 throughout that stretch right now. But I don't know. It's just a lot to go over. But gosh, that was a lot of ranting.
A lot. But it needed to be said.
It did. Um, and like I said, we have Atlanta. So just hope we'll see what they end up what ends up happening in the coming days before that game. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for that segment. Moving on to our final segment, buy or sell, hot takes. Um, I'll start off for this one. I think, you know, I only have one, by the way. I already
Okay.
mentioned it earlier. I think it's going to be the Giants going and beating the Green Bay Packers at home. I think with the rejuvenized energy, new interim head coach, you get Russell Wilson. He's going to be motivated to play again. Um, we don't know how long he's going to be able to play as starter. So obviously he's going to come in and want he's going to have some extra juice in him. And maybe that defense will be uh, having some more energy as well after blowing a lead in the fourth quarter. They're going up against the Packers. Do you know what the score is to that Packers game?
I do not know as of now.
Okay. Well, regardless of whatever the outcome might be, I think the Giants are going to go and pull off and upset the Green Bay Packers. Be by yourself.
I'm gonna sell. You know,
Hey, bro, you already been selling my stuff.
I know it's just hard. It's hard to trust in Russell Wilson. If I could 100% say that Jackson Dart was going to play, I'd maybe buy it. I'd probably buy it, but I don't trust Russell Wilson. Sometimes, like you said, you see the interim, the juice, but I don't think I'm gonna see it. I don't think we'll see it this week. I
I'm
think the
holding you
Green
to
Bay.
that.
Okay, okay,
I'm holding you to that.
all right, all right, all right. But Green Bay, like you said, I don't know the score right now, but if they lose to the Eagles, especially them coming off a 2-game losing skid, I do not see them losing. But they've lost to the Browns and the Panthers this year, so they probably look at that as two bad losses. So I don't think they'll lose to the Giants. So I'm gonna sell that one.
Okay, fair enough.
I got I got one as well. It's going to be like kind of a one you wouldn't expect, but I got the Raiders don't win another game. They will own the number one pick, and they fire Pete Carroll after 1 year.
Ooh. Okay. Do you have their upcoming schedule?
I don't have it off the top of my head, but it is a tough one. They still got to play the Chiefs, I think, twice. They got to play the Broncos again. Name off the schedule, and if you can pull it up. But I looked at it earlier, and I'm not very impressed with any of their games, except I think they maybe play the Browns upcoming, and that was the only one that really tripped me up. But you got it.
So, so they play, and my screen may be black in the video, but it's okay.
That's fine.
So my,
So
so the schedule is they have the Cowboys at home next Monday on prime
L
time. They have the Browns at home.
L
They go on the road to face the Chargers.
L
They go at home to face the Broncos.
L.
Then they go to Philly.
Oh, big L.
Then they go to Houston,
Yep, L.
and then they face the Giants at home,
Interim
and then
Magic L.
and then they and then they face the Chiefs at home.
L.
Uh, you
Okay,
know,
so look, the only game on here that really would be like a toss up to me is Cleveland in 2 weeks. I don't think they're better than Dallas. I know they're not better than the Chargers. Denver barely beat them last time. They're going to blow them out again. Playing Philly, that's not ever easy. Houston's balling right now. The Giants, interim magic. Mike Kafka's going to win that one. And then Kansas City, yeah, I'm not taking anybody against Kansas City anytime soon. I think Kansas City is going to be a team that may only lose one or two more games the rest of the way. Um, and the only one they might lose is Denver. But, I mean, I'm talking about Kansas City. But Cleveland being the only toss-up, give me Dylan Gabriel. The Raiders lose out. They go 2-15. Fire Pete Carroll after 1 year.
I don't know. I
I told
think
you wouldn't expect this one. I had to stump you a little bit. I was thinking long and hard, and I was like, let me put this one in here. I was looking, and I was like, looking at their schedule, and I was like, man, I don't really look at them being favored against anybody but maybe Cleveland. But I think Cleveland can beat them.
Raiders catching strays on this Monday night.
Nah, it ain't straight. Hey, it's buy or sell hot take, baby.
Yeah.
This is the whole NFL. Anybody can be brought up, and unfortunately, the Raiders get tossed in the fire.
You
That's why it's
know,
called
I
hot
think
takes. They're thrown in the fire.
I think the Raiders are, dude. I think you're underestimating how bad the Browns are.
I think you're underestimating how bad the Raiders are, dude. They are terrible.
They
These
just
fools are
got
terrible.
they lost. They only lost to the Broncos 10-7 this
Okay,
past
and
Thursday.
so did the Jets. But are we really pumping up the Jets?
I mean, like it's the NFL. Any Sunday you just saw it. I mean,
Okay,
the Saints beat us.
if their only loss, if their only win the rest of the way is Cleveland, out of everybody we named, I will take this hot take on the chin as a loss. But still, 3-14, they're firing Pete Carroll, and they'll still probably have the number one pick.
Okay, I'll make this a two part. I'll make this a two-parter. I will buy that they fire Pete Carroll, but I'm
Okay,
selling that they don't win another game the rest of the way. I think
okay,
they at
okay,
least manage to squeak in 2 games. I'm gonna say 2 games
okay. If I
max.
had to guess the two, if I had to guess two, do you think they can beat Dallas this week?
I think they can. It's
What
a
do you
it's a
like? Do you
home
feel confident about it?
it's like 50-50.
Like I feel
50-50.
confident about picking them over the Browns. Like I feel confident in that because that's a toss-up game, so I don't really lose nothing. You know what I'm saying? But like
Yeah.
other than that game, I guess the Giants before the last game would be the other one. I'd feel like okay, I think they can beat the Giants because usually interim magic wears off by that time if there is any. So I think they can beat the Giants. But
I think they can beat the Cowboys um at home next Monday. Um, they literally just happened to the Cardinals. They were underdogs against the Cowboys, um, and on Monday Night Football, and they beat them. And I think they can beat the Browns. And I think they can squeak in maybe a divisional game that might be like the Chargers or something. I don't think they're gonna beat the Chiefs. I
I
don't
don't
think they're
know,
gonna
man.
beat.
I can't sit here and say I trust them against the Chargers or anybody in that division. That division is strong, man. That's one of the best, if not the best division in the NFL. The
Yeah,
Chargers, Chiefs, and Broncos. I don't know if I can trust saying they would beat any of them, and they have to play one, two, three more division teams, and they only got 8 more games. And let's be honest, I'm not confidently saying they can beat Philly, so half of their games I think are already straight losses right there off the bat. I don't think they can. I'm just honest right here, man. Dude, this is buy or sell hot takes. My hot take is the Raiders lose out. They fire Pete Carroll. They get the number one pick, and they draft Fernando Mendoza, Indiana quarterback. Bank it right now. We'll come back to this in April. Fernando Mendoza is a Las Vegas Raider.
okay, yeah, I'm buying that they fire Pete Carroll, and I'm selling that they don't win another game. I think they'll squeak in max 2 games.
Fernando Mendoza, Las Vegas.
Yo, you're funny, man.
All right,
All
man.
right. Well, guys, thank y'all so much for tuning in and listening to us. Whatever day y'all are watching this podcast, we appreciate y'all. We are gradually continuing to get to where we want to be. Still got a long way to go. But we're having so much fun with this,
Oh, for sure.
and it's already going into week 11. We started this week 1, so I've had so much fun so far, and thank you guys for continuous supporting and commenting on our TikToks. It means a lot to us. Having that interaction there, and then Twitter as well, and then obviously seeing these on YouTube. So thank y'all for that. But you don't have anything else to say, Michael?
I'm good. Appreciate y'all.
All right, all right. We'll see y'all next week. And we'll talk about that game later next week. Thank y'all.